So, we just got back from seeing Bad Samaritan with David Tennant.
And we'll have our review for you right after this. Hi folks, welcome back to Pop Pop Fizzle. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Heidi.
And we're here, as we said, to review the new film, Bad Samaritan, starring David Tennant, directed by Dean Devlin. If you're not familiar with this, our reaction, I should say, to the first trailer for Bad Samaritan actually got quite a lot of views for us being a tiny channel. So my guess is because of David Tennant and his fandom.
Yes.
And the chance to see him in, a big screen film where he's sort of the center of everything.
Yeah.
Was a big deal. And so we wanted to see it. I mean, I was intrigued by the concept of the movie anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
David Tennant being the star and being the baddie, also not, it was also a draw for me because we're not used to seeing him as the baddie.
Except in Jessica Jones.
Except in Jessica Jones, where he's brilliant, of course.
He's so good at it.
Yeah, and so this was a wholly different thing. Now, before you get concerned, we are not going to do spoilers for this movie. This is just our review, our thoughts after leaving the film. So I'm going to let my wife go first and tell you what she thought.
Yeah, I thought this was a great movie. It was definitely an interesting concept. You can see it from the trailer. It seems like so some kid is doing something bad and suddenly finds himself in a completely over his head sort of situation. And you could see that in lots of other films, but I feel like this was definitely original. It was different, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. I was telling you on the way home that the other main actor in this film, as I said, Sheeran, I can't remember his
Robert
first
Sheeran.
Robert Sheeran, was familiar to me from the television show Misfits, and a lot of those kids, as I was saying, have made it big and gone on to bigger things, which is really cool to see. So it was good to see him in this film as well. I thought he did a good job holding his own against an actor of David Tennant's caliber for sure.
Absolutely.
And this film, what I would say about it is that there were times when I thought it was going to zig and it zagged instead. And that for me is always fun as someone who loves movies, because there are a million times when Heidi and I will sit at home watching something on Blu-ray or even just a television show, and Heidi will go, you'll say a line of dialogue, and then they'll repeat that line of dialogue because you saw it coming, and you'll be like, see, I could write this. Or I'll do the same thing, and I'll say, I bet this is what's going to happen. I bet this thing is going to do this, or this character is going to make this decision, or this is how this thing is going to go wrong, and then it'll happen, and you'll say, you could write this stuff, honey. And that is, it happens because so many ideas get reused and recycled, and there's so many tropes. It's really hard to avoid them, but it's really refreshing when you feel like something's going to go a certain way, and a film doesn't do that. It doesn't take the easy route or the familiar route.
Yeah. So there were several instances where a couple of normal tropes were kind of turned over a little bit, which I thought was fun. But there was a line where I called it immediately before it actually was said, and that's okay because it didn't take me out of the movie.
And that was more of a procedure, without spoiling anything, that was more of a procedural element where we've seen enough shows dealing with police and FBI that we kind of knew how that particular thing, or how they would approach a particular situation. So I don't think that was necessarily a trope so much as us being familiar with how those things work.
Fair enough.
But, we say that, not to say that this film is a perfect film. I don't think there is any such thing as a perfect film. There might be some things that are close, but I don't think any such thing exists. However, this was a really good film. It was done well. I thought it was directed well.
Yes.
Visually, it was... it kept me in the story, kept me engaged.
So it wasn't stunning, but it was captivating.
Right. So. There were some moments, there were a couple of little jump scares and things, but anytime you're having a thriller involving someone who wants to do other people harm, it's kind of hard to avoid that as an element, because you need to build suspense. And, when I'm nervous or keyed up about something, and one of the kids comes running up and grabs me and I don't see them coming, it's startling. I think that's just kind of a part of when you're on edge. Those things happen. So I don't think it was possible to avoid jump scares completely. But this is not one of these.
It wasn't overdone.
Yeah, it wasn't overdone in the way that some of these B horror movies just rely on that jump scare over and over and over again. This was directed well. The story was told well. It kept us involved. It kept us invested. Both Robert Sheehan's acting and David Tennant's acting were on point. All the characters that had smaller roles, I didn't really have any problems with any performances.
Yeah, nobody was chewing scenery, but nobody was like so dialing it in either. So it was really, everyone was in. So that was really nice to see.
Yeah, and as Heidi mentioned before, knowing David Tennant could pull off a villain, as he did in Jessica Jones, didn't really prepare us for what kind of villain he was going to be in this film. So it's a very different sort of character than Kilgrave.
Definitely.
But still done very well, still very chilling.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we enjoyed the film. Now, the way that we rate films on our channel is we determine whether it pops, which means it's good, see it when you get a chance, whether it's on Netflix or video or however you prefer to consume your media, or it's a double pop, which means go out right now, stop what you're doing, go see it in the theater, or it's a fizzle, meaning don't waste your time. So that's how we approach these things. Heidi, how would you rate this particular film?
Definitely a pop. Absolutely a pop. I wouldn't say, unless you're into horror, thriller, that sort of thing, or David Tennant, then that's a double pop. You go out and see it because you would love to see him on the big screen, or you would love to see a big horror sort of thriller thing on the big screen. But for me, it was a pop. I enjoyed it greatly. I think we're a couple days past its opening weekend, and I feel like I haven't missed out on not seeing it for the couple of days it's been out, but it was really enjoyable. I would absolutely recommend it. So if you want to go out and see it now, go for it. But if you want to wait for it, go for that too. Yeah,
I would say I would fall in that same space. I think, it's definitely for sure a pop because it's worth seeing. It's worth spending your time on. And the performances and the direction are great. Whether or not you see it on the big screen is probably going to be up to you and what sort of viewer you happen to be. If you are a fan of David Tennant and you want to support this film because it's his film and he's the lead, then of course you'll probably want to see it on the big screen. If you are just a fan of these sorts of thrillers in general, a lot of what's out right now is superhero fare and more of the kind of summer blockbuster things that are coming out. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want something a little more not laid back, but a little less of a spectacle and more of a story to get invested in. And if that's the case, then I would say this is more of a double pop for you. So go and see it while it's in the theater. It's a good diversion from some of the other things that are out there right now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's always good to have that sort of alternative programming to the big blockbusters, and it may prove to be a boon for a movie like Bad Samaritan because
there's some people who, for whatever reason, don't like those superhero blockbuster things.
Right, or a lot of what we're seeing right now in the box office is either a comedy or it's a big blockbuster action thing, whether it's Rampage with Dwayne Johnson or Avengers Infinity War or what have you. So if that's not your bag, then I think this is great alternative programming to enjoy time in a theater, get yourself a big popcorn and a drink, and not a sponsor, but check that out if that's your thing. If not, then certainly wait for it to hit a Netflix or a streaming service at some point in the future because it is definitely worth your time, definitely worth a viewing, and I don't think you would be at all disappointed.
No.
So it's a long way away from a fizzle, certainly a pop, and if you're a David Tennant fan or a fan of the genre, then it may be more of a double pop for you. I think that's all I had for this one.
Yeah.
It was great to get out in the afternoon and go see a film, Sans Children.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That made for a good movie date.
Definitely.
So be sure and come back to our channel, check out the other reviews and trailer reactions that we have for you. And if you like this video,
hit that thumbs up.
That's right, and consider subscribing because that helps us to continue doing the work that we like to do here for you. If you're already a subscriber, make sure you hit that bell icon because that'll notify you the next time we have a video drop. Until the next time, folks.
Bye.
Bye.